everybody, it's Benny One, and I'm back at you with another ranking video, everybody. That's right, we're continuing the month of October. It's horror movie month, everybody, and I got my second ranking out right now. We're gonna do it. We're gonna rank all four of the Scream movies, everybody. There's a fifth Scream movie coming out too next year, and all of the original cast members are coming back, everybody. Awesome. Excited for that shit. So this franchise, I'll just start off really quick. I love this franchise. It was a horror franchise that was coming out when I was growing up. Probably watched these when I probably shouldn't have watched them because I was young. So this movie is the king, or this franchise is like the king of all meta mystery horror movies. Like the whole meta concept and the mystery thing. This franchise like created that with a slasher flick. Like it mixed all of that together. And it's the king of it. It basically created that version and genre, the subgenre inside the horror slasher flicks. So let's start off with this ranking, everybody, and just remember that this is it's my opinion. We all have our own opinions. I would like you guys to share down in the comments how you would rank these movies, because everyone's ranking is probably gonna be a little bit different. That's how it works. Like, it's just the beauty of talking about movies. I love it. I love talking about ranking videos with other people and where they would place movies. So, because you never know. Somebody might put these movies in a completely different order than I put them in. So, let's dive into it, everybody. So, to start off, number 4, we are going to go with Scream 3, everybody. That is right, Scream 3. I'm putting this one on the bottom because, for one thing, these movies are known for their opening act and how they're shocking and they got the awe effect and they're very creative, and I think this one has the weakest opening act. They do kill off a fan favorite character that's in the franchise, and it doesn't really have a whole lot of shock and awe to me. They just basically they kill him off. I mean, I think it's got the weakest opening. And I'm not saying that this is a bad movie, because I don't really think any of these movies are bad. They all have a great cast in them, including this one. Like, they really do. And I just feel like by the time they hit this third one, I feel like they were running out of ideas, the creative juices, and just they were rehashing, revisiting, and it just, like, things from the first movie. You could just tell that the series was starting to run out of ideas. They were losing their momentum, and I don't really enjoy the middle act of this movie that much, with the whole Hollywood thing with Sydney's mom. And also there's something in the movie that, like, she's seeing her mom like as a ghost and shit. Like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense with this franchise, for one thing. So I just found that very odd, and like the plot is just messy, and I don't know, this is the weakest one for me. I still enjoy it, I still can have fun with it, but it's just the weakest movie for me, so that's why I put it at number 4. Number 3 is going to be the newest one, Scream 4, everybody. I think this one is better than 3. I think it has a better the opening act. It's very meta. The opening act is funny, and it's very meta, because it's basically they're showing the Stab movies, because they made movies based off of what happened in the first one. And when we get introduced to the opening act in this movie, you realize they're all the way up to Stab 7. So it's craziness, and they have some really good fun with the meta humor and everything in the opening act in this one. And I think the 11-year gap that they took from making Scream 3 to making Scream 4 benefited this movie a lot. And that's why I think it's above 3, is because the creative juices were flowing again. They had these new ideas with the online video cam stuff. Like, one of the high school kids is literally wearing and streaming and vlogging his daily routine and everything at high school. Like, they had new creative ideas because the movie took place 11 years later. So I like that. And you could tell that they had all these new ideas, and I think the movie really benefited from the break. Like, seriously. We got a new cast of high school characters, which are all great. And then we get our old cast back that mixes in together with them, and they're older. And they reference and they make it known that they're older. And you all know I appreciate that. I hate it when they put characters in movies and don't acknowledge that they've aged. So I love that aspect of our old cast and our new cast. So the thing that I guess bogs this movie down for me is I don't think they could quite figure out how to either focus on the new cast or our old cast, or a 50-50 thing. It seemed to me while I was watching it, they were having a hard time figuring out which cast they really wanted to focus the story on more. I could just see it. It was a little clunky, and it took me out of the movie a little bit, but not very much. Overall, I thought it was very enjoyable. I'm really excited for the fifth one. It's going to be interesting because it's also going to be the first one that Wes Craven was not involved with. So, because he was involved with the fourth one. So, Scream 4 is number 3. So, my number 2 is going to be the original one, Scream. So, right off the bat, the opening act in this movie is so iconic, you guys. It's shocking. You have Drew Barrymore in the opening act. She was on all of the posters, is like probably going to be one of the big stars of this movie. And bam, the shock and awe of her character just getting murdered cold. Like it was crazy, you guys. And it's just very clever. This movie is very clever, and like I said, this created a whole new horror franchise that was meta. It took the slasher flick, but it mixed in the mystery because you don't know who the killer is, and they really try and like lead you in directions with red herrings and everything. Like, you think it's this person, oh no, now we think it's this person, no, it's this person. Like, very clever. Wes Craven and these guys, it was Kevin Williams. Super creative. And this movie kicked off an era of horror movies that were like this, with the high school meta humor mixed in with the slasher and the horror franchise, like in the late 90s into the early 2000s. This cracked a whole new era of horror movies that came out, and there was a floodgate opened with them. So, and Kevin Williams was a big part of that, you guys. It's just a great movie. Ghostface, right off the bat, iconic character. Like, his whole, what's your favorite scary movie? Like, it's just iconic. The cast was great. The mystery involved with it. It's just, and the thing I love about the whole meta nature thing, where they reference other like horror franchises like a Halloween or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. The thing I love about that is it makes it feel like this franchise takes place in real life, which is just cool to me. So, but I had to put this one at number 1, everybody. So Scream 2 is number 1 for me. Just like my Child's Play ranking, I like the sequel more. And the reason I like the sequel more is the opening act, it just cranks it up a notch. Like, it just does. That opening act in the movie theater with all the people dressed up for Stab 2, to go watch Stab 2, and they're all dressed up in Ghostface costumes. So, it just creates this clever, creative opening act, and it has that shock and awe effect that the first one did too. So, this also is how you do a sequel. This movie does a sequel right, and I love all of the meta references that they use about sequels. I mean, they reference freaking Empire Strikes Back, and they talk about ones that didn't do it right. And that's the thing about this movie, is this movie knows how to do a sequel right and how to not do a sequel. It knows that. It just does. And the cast, again, is great. All of our main cast is back, and we get some new cast members. And I think that our main cast, like Dewey and Sydney and Gale, they're on par in this movie. I think this is the best that all three of them are in any of the movies. They're all great in this movie. And I just feel like this movie is a great example of a franchise keeping that momentum that was built in the first movie and just rolling strong with it into the second one. and it's just firing on all cylinders. Like, they don't miss a goddamn beat in this movie. Like, it is just rolling on. And they introduce, the one thing I liked is with they entered some of the new cast members that they introduced. We get Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Timothy Oliphant, like the guy that played Hitman. He was in Justified. Like, this was one of the early movies that he was in. So, and we get Aunt Becky from freaking Roseanne is in the movie too. Like, I love this movie. Like, I just think it took everything that the first one built and established and just cranked it all up another notch, like another level. And that's just why I got to put it at number one, guys. So, all right, guys, that was my ranking for the Scream movies, everybody. Like I said, share yours down below in the comments. I would like to chat with you about it because I know they're going to be different than what I got. So I appreciate you guys all watching, and I'll be catching you on tube later because I have spoken.